Boat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship.
It's round 4 of the 2013 British Supermoto Championship from Blyton Park in Lincolnshire. Plenty of Open Elite Supermoto action coming your way for the next hour. And joining me in the studio are two guests today, Lewis Cornish and Andy Mitchell, 6-time Norasport national champion. Great to have you both here. Lewis, if I may start with you, a brilliant start to the season for yourself.
Yep, had a really strong start to the season, putting some good results early on. I think I could put it down to my pre-season testing with my teammate Davey Todd in Spain. We could compare against each other and push each other further, so I think it really helped both of us.
So you're really finding the benefit of racing with DCR and racing against Davey. You're both pushing each other on, and I mean, the proof's in the pudding from seeing the results so far. You know, you're both egging each other on to try and chase down Chris Hodgson. Yeah,
I mean, it seems to be working. The motivation of he wants to beat me, I want to beat him, and just together we work as a team really well, I think. So yeah, it definitely helps, and obviously we've got the guys at the team 100% behind us with suspension and putting together a good package for the bike.
And Andy, you are and have been part of the DCR team. You officially announced your retirement a couple of seasons ago now, but you're still out there, you're still racing a little bit competitively. I mean, with some of the riders like James Addy and Lee Williams not competing this year, is there a sense of motivation for you to think, actually, I could probably have this? Or are you quite happily sat in your corner giving your advice to these boys?
Yeah, I've moved away now. I still like to ride my bike, so I've been out once already this year. I'll probably come out again later in the year, but no, it's just for fun now. So
Lewis, obviously you guys know how to collect the data, but I mean, do you look to someone like Andy to try and understand it and read it with all his experience?
Yeah, I mean, got guys like Andy, James Addy, Chris Hodgson, and if Christian turns up, they're all very good riders to try and ride against, and you can learn a lot from their riding, and yeah, just really use them as a good benchmark.
I mean, Blyton is, you know, it's a track that historically you've had mixed fortune, shall we say there. What are you expecting from this round?
Yeah, I'm hoping just to stay on the bike, try and keep myself in the top 3, and yeah, just plod around in the top 3 if I can, try and be on the pace with Chris and Davey and just see how I go.
I love that. Absolute optimism, plod around in the top 3. I wish I could do that. Let's take a look then. I'll catch up with you guys very shortly, but let's take a look at the action for Open Elite Race 1. So let's take a look at the lineup then for Open Elite Race 1. Lewis Cornish is the fastest man in qualifying. He goes off pole position with Chris Hodgson, David Todd and Richard Blakeman alongside him. On row 2 is Chris Walker with Richard Sharp, Dale O'Connor and Graham Norris. On row 3 is John Earnshaw, Ollie Kemp, Brad Hardy and Michael Craig. And on row 4 is Sam Gilbody and Tim Johnson completing the lineup in P14. So alongside me once again in commentary is former British champion Christian Idden. Great to have you alongside me again.
Cheers, Chris, and we're just about getting ready to go. Lights are out and Cornish great to start off pole, but it's a long start straight. He's looking across and he's already lost out to Hodgson and Davey Todd, so poleman first to third.
Yeah, in fact, first to fourth by the time he gets into the first turn, and looked like he was lifting quite a bit there. Looked like he was really struggling to get traction down there.
Yeah, he got the jump away and then didn't seem to get the second part of it, but this is the real crunch bit coming into this one. It's a complete dead stop on the dirt, so if everyone gets through here, this will be a miracle. Bit of bumping and boring, but it's Hodgson who's got away cleanly at the front.
Yeah, fantastic. Number 1 with the red number plate, the current British champion, then Chris Hodgson. Davey Todd in second place, and he will no doubt be looking for the attentions of this man, the man from Cumbria, Chris Hodgson, out in front here, turning once again off the dirt, backing it in, proper traditional supermoto style. Great stuff.
That was awesome. Hodgson went into there really deep, and then he lost the front a little bit on the dirt section as well, and it looks like we've got Chris.
Red flag's just gone up there, Christian. Sorry to cut you off there. Let's have a look, see if we can see. Richard Blakeman rather with his hand up, Chris Hodgson too with his right hand up, and Lewis Cornish going over to, who's that then? That looks like a KTM. Is that, I can't quite tell you that. It's actually...
No, I can't make the numbers out on that one, but fingers crossed they're all right, and you know, nice one there on Lewis for trying to help.
Oh, number 39, it's Sam Gilbody, the rider down there.
Lewis and Sam are good friends, so he's got the medical team there with him, so fingers crossed everything's all right there for Sam.
Well, as Sam Gilbert receives the medical attention of the first aid crew, Vicky's down in the paddock to catch up with Lewis Cornish, who's just had a look at the scene and hopefully may have some news and some positive news on Sam Gilbert.
Lewis, what happened over there? I don't think we really saw it.
Well, I didn't see Sam's crash just then, but when I went over there, he was out cold, so it's hard to say how he is at the minute, but he didn't look too great when I saw him, obviously.
Did you go down with him at all, or did you just end up stopping him?
No, I just stopped to see if he was okay, like me and him were close friends and stuff, so yeah, I just wanted to see if he was alright.
So Ashley, you've just been up to see him, how's he looking?
He's looking alright, he's down, I think he's been knocked out a little bit, but he should be alright. They're just giving him a quick once over, just to make sure he's with it, but he should be back out on the bike, hopefully.
Well, Sam Gilbert's friend there, Ashley, just giving us the lowdown. He was in fact wrong, because we have had an air ambulance as we go in for the restart. 10 laps of this Open Elite Race 1. We'll see Christian and Chris Hodgson getting the best of it again.
Yeah, and Cornish making a much better start this time. Last time he went from 1st to 5th. This time he's kept his 3rd position by the looks of it, but he has got the attention of Richard Blyton going around outside. But it's Hodgson who's out at the front, Davy Todd. Then we have got Lewis Cornish, Blakeman and Walker going around the outside. It's a long, long way around. He just gets pushed out there by Cornish, but it's Hodgson once again. Bit of deja vu here from that first start we had.
I was going to say a very, very similar start actually to the first running of Open Elite Race 1. David Todd there in 2nd place. We briefly saw some on board. Here's some more, in fact, of him chasing the back wheel of Chris Hodgson. And this is what it looks like. What must he be doing here? About 70 mile an hour turning into that right-hander.
Yeah, it's fast. You're doing about that 70 mile an hour. Hit the brakes, you slide it, and then you're going straight onto dirt. So you've got so many different things to contend with, and that's what makes Supermoto so great, and what you can really appreciate how talented these riders are.
Yeah, and amazing as well, to be fair, because anyone who gets out there and gives it a go, it's a pretty tough sport, isn't it? I noticed Lewis Cornish, number 8 there, not got his race top on there over the top of his leathers, I think because he was having a look at how Sam Gilbert is getting on. Now, Dale O'Connor having a look at 155, Chris Walker, the man ahead of him, coming under the attention of 217, as well Richard Sharp. So these 3 riders, all very, very capable on the day, and this is going to be a tight battle, I reckon.
Yeah, good little group this one. They were... Chris Walker was a little bit further up in the first one, so he'll be a little bit disappointed about this restart, but Dale O'Connor certainly went very well at Finmere and put it on the podium, and Richard Sharp we also know can do some great results. So we've got the Honda at the front of the group, and then Dale O'Connor and Richard Sharp on a couple of KTMs, and Chris Walker there just pulled out a bit of a gap, so maybe he has got the pace to run up with those next guys in front, which looks to be Richard Blakeman, and we've got Graham Norris just on the back of them.
This is the thing at the moment, we're on board with David Todd there, going very, very wide and even onto the dirt there, and just keeping it pinned wide open. That's a brave move from Todd in 2nd place here.
Full commitment. He's definitely feeling the flow here, and Hodgson, I think by now, if he had any speed up his sleeve, he would have played that card by now, and he clearly hasn't. Davy Todd there, just up on the pegs coming into that corner. He's definitely feeling good, and Lewis Cornish bodes very well for him, because anything that happens, if Todd tries and makes any kind of move on Hodgson, then Cornish is right there to pick up any pieces.
Yeah, just looking to capitalise on these two, duking it out for the championship. And David Todd very, very cautious to not get on the back wheel of Chris Hodgson on that hairpin too.
Yeah, and it's not that easy to pass around here. So as we see now, Chris Walker, Dale O'Connor and Richard Sharp, who've been going at it hard all race. Richard Sharp looking up the inside, it's so tight going into there. Any move into there would have been massive. And it's really blue grooving up there on that. That's almost like tarmac, that bit now, and then they spin up on the dusty part on the exit of that dirt section.
Yeah, plenty of grip to be found on the blue groove once it emerges, isn't it? It takes a while, but once it's there, and it's sticky, isn't it?
It takes a while to emerge, but if you get off it, it becomes so difficult. It just becomes so one line, and there's no way. But Richard Sharp now pulls out the slipstream. He's got the inside line, but Dale O'Connor chops his nose off. Brilliant racing.
Yeah, great stuff, and you can see Dale O'Connor absolutely rinsing that bike as well, and to look at them from the outside, they look like very, very similar machines as well, so I wondered actually whether they're on exactly the same horsepower, very similar setups too. And Sharp flicks it sideways, tries to get the power down early by getting the wheels in line. He goes deep, he's going to try and cut it back and get the power then as they go over the ski jump here at Blyton. And this is a great race, Christian.
Brilliant race, and Sharpie had seen the line that O'Connor did, and we're coming back into that corner where I said it's difficult to pass. He's looking. Oh, so close. Lewis Cornish is actually the fastest man on track as we come onto the last lap, but he's just lost a bit of ground coming onto that, so just at the crunch time Lewis Cornish has just lost out. So he needs a mistake now for one of these two. He needs Davy Todd to dive it up the inside of Chris Hodgson. Surely Davy's going to try somewhere. It's not an easy track to pass on, but he needs to have a go. He's got to. The championship's counting on it.
Well, that's it. We've not quite got a full lap, and it's actually that big long straight that often provides the passing opportunities. Trying to keep off the back wheel then of Chris Hodgson as we ride on board with Davy Todd there. He's going to go wide and going to go deep. He's going to try and get his wheels in line then as they go over the ski jump. The power down from Davy Todd in second place, looking to capitalise on any mistake from Chris Hodgson, the man out in front, but Hodgson is keeping it honest. There is Chris Walker, confirmation that it was 155. Chris Walker struggling to get the bike started, actually on the kickstart, not the electric start there, Christian.
Yeah.
But just a couple of corners remaining, and Hodgson's got the best of it.
Hodgson has. He's got great drive coming off this one. Just one corner remaining. His back marker, they shouldn't get in the way, and it's going to be Hodgson that takes a great win.
Brilliant race, and to be fair, Davy Todd really pressured Chris Hodgson all the way there. Official confirmation then of Open Elite Race 1. Chris Hodgson takes the win in those 35 points ahead of Davy Todd in second place. Lewis Cornish taking a well-earned third place, really keeping them both honest there ahead of him. And Richard Blakeman, Dale O'Connor, Richard Sharp, Graham Norris, John Earnshaw, Michael Craig and Tim Johnson, the top 10. Well, let's get straight down to the paddock for reaction then with Vicky Monk.
Lewis, you qualified on pole, but you came in third. It was still a good result though.
Yeah, I'm happy with third. I mean, these two are running a really good pace out front, so yeah, I'm happy just to run with them. I didn't feel like I could pass anywhere in that race, so I just had to settle for third, really.
What's the track like here today?
To be fair, I normally run pretty bad at Blyton, so I'm happy just to be in the top three, and the track's running real nice.
Excellent, well best of luck for the rest of the day. And Davey, good second place for you there, talk me through it.
Yeah, pleased with that. Got a good start alongside Chris and kept with him the full race, but never just had enough to get past him.
Are you looking for race 2, do you reckon?
Hopefully race 2, get a bit better and try and make a pass and just stay up there here on the podium.
Excellent, and Chris Hodgson leading from the front there. How was that for you?
Yeah, you know, same as the rear room, got a really good start and David followed us through. So I knew he was on my heels all the time, so I just had to keep it smooth and keep my lines all right.
Had to stop the race for safety reasons, but was it a bit frustrating having to do all the work again?
Yeah, it was. I mean, me and Davey had cleared off. I think we had about 5 seconds from the next man, so it was a bit frustrating, but it all worked out in the end.
Excellent, well, best of luck for race 2.
Thank you.
So Chris Hodgson does it again. Lewis, you did very well at plodding round in third there. Well done, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, I had a really steady ride in third, riding behind Davey and Chris. I mean, I was on the pace, but I just didn't quite have the pace to force a pass through on anyone, and yeah, so I just had to really follow. So yeah, happy with third though.
No one really seemed to have much pace to make some passes. I mean, we saw Sharpie having a bit of a battle with Dale O'Connor, but just couldn't quite make it stick in the end. What was it? I mean, is it just everyone's running so quick, or you can't slipstream anyone, or what, why do you think anyone can't make that move?
Yeah, I think with the times being so close, I mean, you've got people separated by 0.1 of a second, which is really just nothing. So when the times are that close, you've really got to struggle to make a pass. You've either got to hope for a mistake, or that is pretty much the only way you'll get past someone when the times are that close.
Andy, I'm just going to turn to you quickly. A quick chat about Sam Gilberty's crash there, because you had a similar incident a few years ago in a similar part of track there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. A very similar part of the track. I had an incident with a track marker as well, and had a bit of a crash.
And it's quite a hard track because you're going so fast as well, aren't you, around Blyton? You know, you're really nailing it, and when you go big, or you seem to.
Yeah, it is. There's quite a few fast-flowing corners. The straight, you're flat out in top gear down the main straight as well. It is a fast-flowing track at Blyton.
And you were airlifted out of there as well, so the ambulance crew, you know, playing the part as ever. You know, it's so important to motor racing, isn't it?
It is. You know, I was lucky enough at a helicopter ride, but I can't remember much of it. But you know, the first aid guys were there and sorted me out straight away, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah, next time you're in a helicopter, you'll have to get some pictures. But we certainly wish Sam Gilberty well. Join us again after the break as we take a look at Open Elite Race 2. Don't go anywhere.
WantToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship. Boat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship.
Welcome back. Mixed fortunes for some of the riders in the British Open Elite Championship. Let's take a look at the action for Open Elite race number 2. So after a great first race, Chris Hodgson's the man who takes pole position for Open Elite Race 2. Alongside him, Davey Todd, Lewis Cornish and Richard Blakeman on the front row. On row 2 is Dale O'Connor with Richard Sharp, Graham Norris and John Earnshaw. And on row 3 is Michael Craig, Tim Johnson, Ollie Kemp and Brad Hardy. And completing the lineup way at the back on row 4 is Chris Walker after he had what we think it was a fall, but then struggling to get his bike restarted to complete the 10-lap race in Open Elite Race 1. So on we go then with Open Elite Race 2. Richard Blakeman there and Lewis Cornish, the number 8 rider, Davey Todd in P2 and Chris Hodgson on P1. Well, Richard Blakeman just got his bike on one side, and a few people are always asking why he's doing that. We'll maybe come on to that in a moment, but away we go then from the start for Open Elite, race number 2. Chris Hodgson getting a great jump too, but Davey Todd looking like, has he got the run around the outside? Davey Todd just about, I think, getting the whole shot. Hodgson fights back, he's up the inside, he's got the inside line, and Chris Hodgson in first position.
Yeah, and Davey Todd was trying to go the long way around there. Also saw Dale O'Connor got a great start, so he was going well, and Chris Walker now on one of his favourite bits of the track, he's going the long way, so lots of special lines being used here on the first lap. But as we've seen out front before, it's Chris Hodgson, that big number 1 plate with Davey Todd in chase.
And never mind the leader, what an amazing move from Chris Walker to work his way from the back of the field to, well, certainly halfway through there, right round the outside of everyone.
Absolutely unreal. And where is he? He's in about 5th or 6th position from, as you say, from last on the grid. So brilliant start there from Walker, pretty much up to where he was in the first race before he went down. So we've got the first 4 again. It's Hodgson, Todd, it's Cornish, and then we got Richard Blakeman. And Richard Blakeman just didn't quite have the pace in the first race, but he's away with them now, so he needs to just try and get on the back of him and try and run the pace for the first few laps, get into a good rhythm and stay with him.
Well, Chris Walker's down. Oh, can you believe it? Look at Dale O'Connor trying to make himself as aerodynamic as possible, and he's still got that big elbow up in the air. It's almost like a big flap as he goes into the corner, isn't it? If you were in an aircraft,
yeah,
put the flaps up, slow down.
Dale O'Connor and his air brakes.
Absolutely, yeah. John Earnshaw, the man behind him, 181 is his number, 698 just on the front of his bib there, which can be slightly confusing if you're new to following him at the British Supermoto Championship. But Dale O'Connor with the power down, trying to still make himself as aerodynamic for as many times as he possibly can around the circuit. And Richard Blakeman closed the gap on Richard Sharp now. Yeah,
not letting Richard Sharp go at all, and he got the line there perfectly. So Richard Blakeman just cutting it a bit tighter there. He's going to be now, he's got to weigh up now for the back straight. It's the only real place you can pass around this track or easily. All the other places you've got to really stick it to him. So he's just run the line, he's close, he's in perfect position now. Richard Blakeman, and he pulled out very early. Very early. He's got down and he's made this.
He's done it.
Brilliant. Good pass there. And I wasn't expecting that. Richard Blakeman made the pass much earlier. He got great drive coming out of that corner and made that one look far too easy, really.
Well, I just noticed it looked like Richard Blakeman took a gear early there, whereas Sharpie didn't, just going into that left-handed turn. What was that about? Do you think he actually clutched an extra gear down that long straight, or were they both flat out?
They were both flat out down the straight, but Richard Blakeman just managed to somehow turn the corner a bit tighter and got some exceptional drive coming off that turn. So and then gave it a bit of a wobble down the straight just to say hello Sharpie, I'm here, just to let him know. But he's pulled away straight away. So maybe he had a bit of a mistake earlier on from Richard Blakeman. That's why Sharpie got through, because he certainly gapped him straight through. And look at that, he's put 5-6 bike lengths into him within half a lap.
We did say in a previous lap, Richard Blakeman looking a little bit gingerly around that dirt section. Was that just a case of him trying to get his eye in and actually suss out exactly what the man ahead of him was doing?
Could be, but his eye's in now because he's pulling away massively. And look at that, Dale O'Connor and then John Earnshaw. They're all getting into the top position so hard that they're popping a little bit of a wheelie. And John Earnshaw, he doesn't really get too much coverage, but he's been riding a brilliant season so far this year. He's been very impressive, I've got to say.
Yeah, he really has. He's had quite a bit of coverage, actually, because he's certainly been in the thick of it in quite a few battles, actually, throughout the season so far.
And Hodgson is pushing hard, definitely. He knows now he's got the full attention of Davey Todd, and Lewis Cornish, he's got the speed, but he's not quite there again in this race as he was in the first one.
We can just see how the tarmac's slightly uneven there, and if I saw correctly, it almost looked like as Hodgson leaned in there, he caught his foot peg on the ground, and I don't even know if that lifted up his back end a little bit, which just caused him to be a little bit uneasy there as he tried to get the power down.
Yeah, you get the pegs down loads on supermoto bikes, and it is rare that it's going to pick it up, but the track is uneven. It's got new surfaces. We're coming to this corner. This is the corner we were talking about. And as you say, Chris Walker now, he is making his way through the field. He should make light work of Michael Craig. He does going into that one, and hopefully he'll be past these two guys in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Tim Johnson still putting the pressure on Brad Hardy. It'll be interesting once Chris Walker tries to separate these two, actually, whether that creates a gap there for Johnson to get past Brad Hardy. But again, Hardy, in his first season of the British Open Elite Championship, he's having a fair competition, as now David Todd in second place, getting ever closer to Chris Hodgson out in front. He goes out wide once again. Is he going to get out of the slipstream? He pulls the pin round the outside, and Chris Hodgson just fending off David Todd at the moment, but this is getting ever so tight, Christian.
That was clever from Hodgson. Now, David Todd was on the outside, but Hodgson knew what he was going to try and do. He knew that Davey was going to try and cut it back, and if you actually saw, Hodgson just went a bit slower mid-corner than he normally would to keep that tight line. Hodgson knows that round certain parts of the track, there's no way Davey Todd can pass.
David Todd is definitely closing that gap.
Yeah, he is, and David Todd just had a quick check over his shoulder to see where Cornish was, so David Todd was a bit worried. He saw, okay, right, we're all right. Cornish isn't close enough. He can really focus now on Hodgson. That's the only thing he needs to focus on. He's got no one coming at him from behind, so David Todd needs to make a move.
And I've got a funny feeling there may well be a move coming, because you can just see the determination and the body language, I suppose, from him. It's too little too late, unfortunately, as Chris Hodgson takes another great win then, claiming the checker flag. I missed the last lap flag there completely, but Chris Hodgson, the winner then of Open Elite race number 2. So the official results of Open Elite Race 2. Chris Hodgson takes the spoils then, and a well-earned first place then, 35 points to him, ahead of David Todd in second place, and Lewis Cornish again in third, ahead of Richard Blakeman, Richard Sharp, Dale O'Connor, John Earnshaw, Graham Norris, Ollie Kemp and Brad Hardy, the top 10 in Open Elite Race 2. Well, Vicky's back down in the paddock, so let's see what the top 3 have got to say for themselves.
How was that for you?
Yeah, third again, so I'm happy with that. It's just good points in the bag, and I can run up the front with these two. I think it's just a matter of times are that close, it's hard to get past. So yeah, I'm happy with third. I think maybe next race try and improve a bit more. If not, I'll be happy with third again.
You've never been a fan of Blyton, but you're pretty consistent today, it's got to be said.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll just chilled out a little bit more on the bike, relax, and hopefully keep the results as consistent as they have been so far.
Well done, and Davey, that was one hell of a close fought fight to the finish. Talk me through it.
Yeah, well, me and Chris got away again off the start in front, and we had Lewis behind us this time, and we were still battling, and I was right on him all the time and going back and forward, getting a bit of distance, and then reeling him back in, but wasn't able to make the pass, but maybe better in race 3.
Well, best of luck with that. And Chris Hodgson, he won 2 races in a row. Are you going to make it 3 times lucky?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's what we're hoping for.
How was that for you? You had Davey right on your tail at the end there.
Yeah, we got off to a good start, and me and Davey were swapping positions on the first couple of corners, but I got my head down and I made a good gap, but then I hit a false neutral coming up the off-road, and David reeled us in and couldn't shake him after that.
How have you found the track today?
It's really fast, it's good on the U-tar and things like that, but it's really hard to make a pass, and it's hard to pull time on anybody.
Well, guys, consistency is the key to winning a British Championship. Your second, third place of the day on a track you don't particularly like. A good result for you today.
Yeah, really happy with it again. I mean, you've got top 4 guys finishing exactly where they finished in the first race there, which obviously shows that everyone just trying to keep it consistent, stay on 2 wheels, and yeah, just trying to run up the front and score some good points.
And we talk about consistency, Andy. Of course, this year you can't drop your lowest point scoring round as you've been able to in the past, certainly when you've been racing properly. that means every rider's got to be at every round and bag some points and serious points as well. You know, you can't have a bad day at the office.
That's exactly right. You know, you've got to finish every race as high as you can. So even if you have an incident, you've got to get back on that bike, get to that checkered flag and score as many points as you can, because this year it matters even more.
And we saw Richard Blakeman making a great pass on Richard Sharp there, but he did have a bad round in the last one. Lewis, if I may turn to you, know, sort of turn this screw really, I suppose. Yeah, you gained some points on him in the last round, but actually he's sort of, reeling you in a little bit now, with some decent results, finishing just 1 point behind you. He's not letting you get away too much now, is he?
No, I mean, he's keeping me under pressure, as you've seen there. He's not far behind me, so any sort of big mistakes, he'd be straight on me, if not past me, so can't afford to let off. I mean, everyone's going really well. I mean, if it's not Blakeman, it's Sharpie or Walker, you've always got guys right behind you pushing you, so yeah, just got to keep yourself in check, keep yourself on the bike.
So let's see how you get on in Open Elite Race 3. Join us again after this break. Don't go anywhere.
OneToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship. OneToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship.
Welcome back. Chris Hodgson is the man who leads the British Supermoto Championship in the Open Elite class. David Todd is in second place with Lewis Cornish battling in third. That's the way it's been in the racing so far. Let's see how they get on in Open Elite Race 3. So Chris Hodgson starts on pole position for the second time today then. Alongside him, David Todd in P2, Lewis Cornish in P3, and Richard Blakeman on the outside of row 1. And row 2 is Richard Sharp with Dale O'Connor, John Earnshaw and Graham Norris. On row 3 is Ollie Kemp with Brad Hardy, Chris Walker working his way through to 11th after starting at the back. And Tim Johnson completes the lineup on row 3. And on row 4 is Michael Craig in P13. So once again, Christian Idden by my side again in commentary.
Yep, and it's time for Davey Todd to go out and win a race, because he's been pushing so hard with Chris Hodgson, and Lewis Cornish had the pace all day as well and just been off the back of those guys. So there's going to be 3 guys out front that are going to be fighting really hard for this race win.
Absolutely, and as you say, Lewis Cornish, well, he was the fastest man in qualifying. He put himself on pole position at the start, and that's what I was talking about earlier, Christian. Richard Blakeman with his bike leaned over on the start line. What's he doing there?
He's just getting a bit of oil into his clutch basket, which should help him get a good getaway, and we're soon going to find out as they're off. So did he get that start that he wanted? Richard Blakeman's coming down the outside bit, Lewis Cornish off third place. It's going to be Chris Hodgson who takes, so they all stayed exactly where they were off the start. So we've got Cornish in third, we've got Chris Hodgson out in front, and then we've got Davey Todd, then Lewis Cornish and Richard Blakeman in fourth, and Chris Walker again, a monumental start. He came from the second to last row on the grid.
Well, that was an absolute carbon copy of Sharp. He's down there at the back. What happened to Richard Sharp off the start? And then how did he clip someone's back wheel to end up on the deck there?
Oh, some kind of mistake there from Richard Sharp, and then he's in the group of slightly slower riders, and he's just grabbed too much front brake and hit the back of another guy. And look at that, Hodgson pushing 100% into that one. He's missed every bit of blue groove into there and still makes it going, and there's a mistake further back because there's a bit of a gap gone in between second and third.
Yeah, Blakeman just completely missing his braking point, as you said earlier, missing that blue groove, getting out on the loose deep stuff, and I think he was just ahead actually of Lewis Cornish. Cornish threw back into third place.
Yeah, and Cornish, he's got the pace to run. We've had this gap, he's been about 2 seconds behind the front two, but he can run the pace. If Lewis Cornish can just get near him, he can definitely fight for the win in this race.
Well, Chris Walker, the man looking at Richard Blakeman there for that fourth place at the moment, and Walker closing the gap there, the man from West Yorkshire.
Yeah, and he came from where, 11th, 12th on the grid?
Absolutely, yeah, so he's really fighting his way through and keeping it a little bit more shiny side up than he did in the last outing, and he really needs these points now, to be fair, because as we talked about, you can't drop your lowest point scoring round this year, so every point is crucial.
Yeah, in the past in Supermoto you've been able to drop rounds or races, and so obviously, and John Earnshaw just drops a wheel off the blue groove but collects it up nicely. But as we were talking about, and another mistake there from Earnshaw, he used to be able to drop rounds, he used to be able to drop races, but Chris Walker today has had a bad day. He's had basically a DNF in the first one, but he did manage to get some points, and then as good as a last place in the second one. So he's had a bad day at the office, Chris Walker, and he's going to try and recoup as much as he can in this final race.
Well, 181 there, John Earnshaw coming under the attentions, as he has done all day actually, to be fair, from Graham Norris here. Norris on the Husqvarna, the man, as I said, from Southport, really putting the pressure on John Earnshaw on the Honda here. They go into this very, very tight right-hander with the surface change as well, and it just seems to go on forever, doesn't it? I mean, it's hard to watch, let alone to ride, when you know you've got the pressure of the guy behind you breathing down your neck.
Long corner, and a very difficult one, because you've got two surfaces.
Well, the positions are slightly different here, with Tim Johnson ahead of Michael Craig. Both of these two guys have got the better of Brad Hardy in this one. It was Hardy leading this pair before, but Tim Johnson got the measure here and really rinsing it there, coming under the attentions of Craig.
Yeah, and we've got Richard Sharp coming, who we saw have that crash on that first lap, so he's trying to make his way through the pack. He's just on the back there of Brad Hardy. Should make light enough work of these guys, who are all riding their own race, and plenty of elbowdrop.com there from 234, giving it big licks. I like it.
Great stuff, and as I said before, you know, it's going to be interesting to see once Sharpie works his way through this field, actually, whether that opens up any gaps for Michael Craig to make a move on Tim Johnson here, or likewise too for Brad.
Yeah, Brad's been at the head of this. These three guys have been battling all day long, and they've just been stuck together, but it's been Brad that's been the one who's been generally at the front, so bit of a worse start this one for Brad Hardy, as we see Michael Craig having a look, but it's very difficult, as we've said, to do anything here. Even Richard Sharp at the back there, who can run much quicker lap times, is struggling to get through these guys. So you can see when we get up to people like Hodgson and Cornish and Davey Todd out front, who are running just about identical lap times, you can see how difficult it is to pass, because we've got someone who's a couple of seconds quicker than these guys in front and is struggling.
Davey Todd really on the back wheel then of Chris Hodgson. Will he go wide? He hasn't done on this occasion, but he does have a look at the inside of Chris Hodgson. Davey Todd pulls a pin and makes it stick. Davey Todd up into first position. He goes wide. Hodgson's back. These two neck and neck. Chris Hodgson taking the lead back from Davey Todd. Epic racing.
Epic racing, and brilliant there from Hodgson. He saw that Davey Todd, and he even coaxed him into that pass, and Davey, he had the inside line there, and Dale O'Connor's gone down. That's the run onto the back straight, so poor Dale O'Connor. You get a good understanding with other guys, and they've been racing together long enough that all Davey has to do is, if he does half wheel him, as I said, all Davey has to do is wait just to see that dip of Hodgson's brakes. You see the suspension dip, and he knows, and he just has to wait that minute split second and just dip just afterwards and make sure he holds that line. But now we've got Lewis Cornish, who's definitely excited for this one. He can come out and win this one. He's been third twice today. Can he jump, leapfrog, and get that first position?
I've got to be honest, it looks like one of the smoothest rounds I've seen from Lewis Cornish. He looks a lot more comfortable on the bike. I mean, having said that, he's been a lot more smoother all year and looked a lot more comfortable on the bike. Is that just maturity with his racing, do you think?
Lewis is coming of age, definitely, and Davey Todd's come in, and actually Davey Todd's been doing it a little bit less time than Lewis Cornish has, so it's a little bit difficult for Lewis in his situation, because he should be the team leader, but obviously Davey's come in and putting in some fantastic results, and that's hard for Lewis, and it's great to see that he's up in his game and showing that he can do it.
Absolutely. David Todd in second place, just 17 years of age here, chasing the British champion, who's been racing for, donkey's years. He's been racing alongside you, hasn't he, Christian?
He has. Hodgson's not that old. He's still only a young lad, is Hodgson. He's still only in his early 20s. So, but yeah, just the youth of Davey Todd, as you say, being 17, it puts it a bit more into perspective that he is so new at this, and he should have a great future. He may not win it, but he's going up the inside. He's having a good look. I almost wrote him off too early there, and he has got the drive again. Hodgson lost a bit of drive. Davey, do not outbrake yourself this time.
Look at those three side by side. David Todd working his way into first position. Great to see that perspective on the onboard as Richard Blakeman battling his way past Chris Walker there, and I'm not quite sure actually how Chris Walker got past him, but there was definitely a pass, I think, there from Richard Blakeman. But this is the action really at the front, with David Todd out ahead now of Chris Hodgson. As we're looking at 181, John Earnshaw now, it's Richard Sharp who's worked his way through the field and now putting the attentions then of Earnshaw as he come down this straight. I'm not sure what Earnshaw was doing then, his left hand off the bike there and almost down on the tank, so I'm not quite sure what was going on there.
Yeah, and we're coming definitely into the closing stages, and Hodgson's trying really hard. He's right behind Davey Todd, trying everything he can. Davey Todd doing really well. Can he hold on to this race?
Well, last lap flag is out. Davy Todd, our leader. Chris Hodgson in second place. Where has Cornish gone?
I saw some dust in the background. Oh, he's gone down on the run onto the last lap. Cornish was pushing so hard he went down there. What a unfortunate thing there for Lewis Cornish, but we cut back to the leaders. This is Davy Todd. He's got to defend. This is one of the places Hodgson might try and go around the outside of him or even cut back. Look at that blue groove. Don't get off it. You can't do. Turn it tight. Davy gets the power on. Hodgson's trying desperately to get the power down. It is so difficult. Right, now we're coming onto the bit of track where Davy Todd has to be clever. He doesn't really need to do anything silly. Just stay on the line and he should be okay. But we know Chris Hodgson's such a great racer. Can he find a way through?
Well, the pressure's certainly off Hodgson to defend now from Lewis Cornish, and he can certainly go on the attack here on Davy Todd, but he gets very close. But Todd, I think, going to keep it honest, because he's actually been pretty quick around this bit of circuit today. Just one corner remaining and separating Davy Todd from the checker flag. He keeps it tight, and Davy Todd takes a brilliant race win for Open Elite Race 3. Big stoppie as well from the pair of them. Great racing in the Open Elites. So the official results, Davy Todd, the winner then of Open Elite Race 3, 35 points to him, ahead of Chris Hodgson in second place, Richard Blakeman claiming third ahead of Lewis Cornish, who took a fall but got back on to claim fourth place, so well done to him. Chris Walker in fifth ahead of Graham Norris, John Earnshaw, Richard Sharp, Brad Hardy and Tim Johnson. Well, that's it from the commentary team. Thank you to Christian Idden today. Let's get down to the paddock for final reaction then with Vicky Monk.
Richard, you got on the podium eventually.
Eventually, yeah. Can't keep with these boys though today. I'm just glad that Lewis fell off then. But apart from that, everything, I had a really good day, to be honest. Really good weekend.
Do you mean you're glad Lewis didn't hurt himself when he fell off, Richard?
Yeah, well, that as well. I'm glad he did fall off, because there's no way I was running with these boys, top three lads.
Well, you still finished third, so well done, mate.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Chris, second place this time. Tell me what happened.
Got off to a good start, and Davey got a good run on us down the straight one lap, and he ran a bit deep, but the next time he done a real smart move, just kept his bike on the inside of us and braked a bit early, and so fair play to him, good race.
It looked like he nearly got past you earlier on in the race. I think he might have done for a split second and then you got it back.
Yeah, that's what I was on about. He just ran a bit deep into the corner, but he rode smart the next time, so well done to him.
You're still happy with your performance today, even if I suppose you got overall first anyway?
Oh yeah, definitely the overall win's what we all come for, so really happy about that.
Well done. And Davey, well done for winning race 3. That was a great battle, I've got to say.
Yeah, it was a great battle between me and Chris there. I was behind him for a good while and thought I just got the running him down the straight that one lap and ran a bit deep, a bit eager to outdo him, and he got back underneath me and I managed to do it again and keep it tight that time and hold on to the win.
I have to say, earlier on in the race when you did get past and ran a bit deep, I was slightly worried watching you from this end of the holding grid, because I've seen it before where you would have got a little bit too hard on the pass and maybe not have ended up coming in first at all.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to make a dirty move or anything on Chris, and just to keep consistent and get second on the podium. That's what we all come for.
Excellent riding today. Well done, Davey.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that was an eventful race. Lewis, you didn't quite manage to get away with the round at Blyton without taking a fall at some point, did you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was sat in third, close behind Davey and Chris. Those two were having a real close battle, and coming round for the last lap flag, just washed the front out, went in a little bit too hot, and just slid straight off the track. But luckily, when I got to the bike, it was still running, so I managed to pull in just behind Blakeman, and me and Blakeman had a good last lap together. A few close moves were pulled off, but yeah, he beat me to the flag in the end.
Let's have a look at all the action then after this break, as we'll be taking a look at the presentations and a review of races 1, 2 and 3. Don't go anywhere.
OneToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship. OneToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship.
Welcome back. What's turned out to be quite an eventful meeting here at Blyton Raceway has seen our top 3 make their way down to the podium for presentations. Let's take a look at the results. So a great day's racing for Chris Hodgson then, taking the top step ahead of Davy Todd and Lewis Cornish in third. So this is how the Open Elite standings look then. Chris Hodgson still the man out in front with 398 points in the championship, ahead of David Todd not far behind with 384. And Richard Blakeman is in third with 345, Lewis Cornish on 335, ahead of Richard Sharp, Graham Norris, John Earnshaw, Brad Hardy, Dale O'Connor and Tim Johnson, the top 10. So still doing enough, Lewis, to make it onto the podium for the presentations. Well done, mate.
Yep, I mean, like I said earlier, all I really aimed to do was stay on the bike and get myself around in the top 3, so that's what I achieved, so I'm happy with that, yeah, leave with some good points.
Well, you nearly made it. But David Todd, if we can have a look at race number 1, very, very lucky as he's chasing down Chris Hodgson. Look at him, he's run straight off the track there and got, both tyres absolutely in the grass there on the outside. And also very, very lucky to stay on. He's obviously gone very, very wide there, so his turning circle's not quite as tight, it's not quite on the edge of the tyre, but pretty lucky there, I'd say, and that's how much these guys are into it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Andy?
That's the final corner before the straight, and if you can get a good run out of there, you can hook that last gear a bit earlier and get a drag down the straight to make an overtaking manoeuvre. It does happen quite a lot on that part of the track. It did well, it did okay to stay on there, but it was a good overtake. The next lap, I think, he actually overtakes Hodge. So that's what he was trying to do then, get the drive to get that extra speed down the straight.
Well, let's talk about starts then. And Lewis, looking at your start from race number 2, if we can just take a look at this. Looking at you off the grid there, just looking across at where all the other riders are, you've probably not made the best start there, but you're looking across a heck of a lot there. Just talk us through what you're thinking there at that point and what exactly it is you're looking for.
Yeah, well, obviously you want to see if it's clear to tip in or not. I mean, I had a big crash there not so long ago, a few years ago, and what happened is I was looking on the inside of someone, they didn't know I was there, so they tipped into the corner how they normally would, and yeah, I think it was just a big pile up. So obviously you want to try and avoid an incident like that, and obviously with Sam's crash earlier on in the day, that was probably, still playing on my mind a little bit, so you just want to try and keep yourself safe.
If we take a look at Richard Blakeman's pass on Richard Sharp, that was at that part down the straight again, and that's the big passing place really at Blyton, isn't it, coming down here?
Yeah, as I say, they got on the power early, managed to get the drag down, just like David was doing earlier on, managed to get up the gearbox a little bit quicker to get that extra speed to nip on the inside into that fast left at the end of the straight.
Is that the move then that everyone's going for? I mean, it's, from our point of view, watching as a spectator at home, I suppose that's where everyone's going to wind it on and, keep it pinned. But from a racer, is that what you're expecting the guy behind you to be doing, when they're coming up behind you? They're looking for that. And then are you starting to think defensively then? Is that when the door shuts?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you've got someone right behind you, they can see where you're going, they can use you as a benchmark. So they can see where you're putting the throttle on, and obviously they're trying to match it, if not do better. And it's obviously a lot easier to pass someone in a straight line than it is going around a corner. So if they can set it up on the corner so they can pass you in a straight line, that is the ideal pass on that track, yeah.
Well, looking for opportunities to pass on the corners, we're talking about making mistakes. Let's take a look at Chris Hodgson, who seems to miss the apex.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like going into the corner there, he's either missed a gear or a little bit too heavy on the back brake, or maybe just suspension setup. I mean, the bike looked to be wallowing quite a lot going into the corner, so he may have been having some suspension issues, or yeah, it's hard to tell just watching from the outside, but he definitely had quite a big problem going into the corner, missed the apex, and I think if Davey or myself would have been a little bit closer to him there, we'd have been able to capitalise.
I think that corner there, it's after the long section on the dust, it seemed to get a little bit of a slide on the tarmac where the dust's left after that straight, and I'm not sure if you could see his foot catch the gear lever. He may have just knocked it into neutral as he tipped into the left-hander after that.
Let's take a look at Sharpie's race then. This is race number 3, and he went to the back of the grid from 5th position and then clipped the back wheel, down he went. Extremely uncharacteristic, Andy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually clips the wheel. I think he's just trying to catch up because he'd been boxed in the corner before, and it looked to be right on the inside of the track there, and there is an awful lot of loose stuff, especially after the cars have been on as well. It throws all the loose stuff onto the inside there, and I think he just outbraked himself on the loose stuff and lost the front.
I mean, to end up in last position, you know, the final position there, and be in that position in the first place, Lewis, for a rider like Sharpie, surely you're not expecting that. And how does that happen? I mean, I know Andy talked us through that a little bit before, but, you know, what's gone wrong for him there?
Yeah, well, obviously the first corner is the most important corner. You can either make or break your race in that corner, so you never know. He might have just had a nightmare. Probably, like Andy said, he got boxed in on the inside, so when that happens, everyone's so tightly bunched that if you miss 1 second, you've got 5 riders past you. So yeah, he probably just had a nightmare on the first corner, trying to make up some time on the dirt, and yeah, just made a mistake.
Well, let's take a look very quickly at David Todd's pass on Chris Hodgson. Again down that main straight, just pulls out the slipstream and up the inside, Andy. Great.
Yeah, as we saw earlier, he was trying to get on the gas a little bit earlier, and he managed to get it bang on that time and straight down the inside at the end of the straight. Perfect, that's the way to do it. Lewis, we'll gloss over your crash, pretend that didn't happen, but you've had a great day's racing at Blyton, and you know, a good result for you. Moving on to Rowra, what are you expecting for the next round?
Yeah, I had a brilliant day. I couldn't really ask for much more other than the crash, but yeah, to get on the podium at Blyton, which isn't my favourite track, is great. Really looking forward to Rowra now. Got a good bit of momentum behind me, so hopefully carry through some good results into Rowra.
We've perhaps been a bit surprised, Andy, and maybe a little bit hard on Richard Sharp today. Now, Rowra is that track that we know Sharpie can go very well around, you know, because it's a very technical, flowing track, you know, and it's all about momentum and, you know, pacing yourself around there is something that Sharpie can do. Would you expect a position maybe in the top 3 from Sharpie?
I think so. I've seen him. He was ridden around there for a few years now, and he's really fast. There's a nice little off-road section which he flies around there. The stop and start corners seems really good on those. Yeah, Sharpie should go well up at Rowra.
And Lewis, there's a bit of concrete and tarmac, I think, now down on the dirt section, much like what they did at Three Sisters, I suppose. Do you think that's going to have much impact in terms of running up the burns?
I think it will pretty much just be how it has been in the previous years. Obviously, it's a bit more, if it rains now, you'll be able to run a lot better through there. So, yeah, I think it'll just make for some good racing.
I've been pretty lucky with the weather so far. For yourself then, do you prefer it dry? Because your results certainly seem to indicate that way, or do you actually mind if it's a bit wet in Cumbria? We've certainly had the odd wet around there.
Well, I mean, when you go to Rowra, you've probably got to expect the worst, and so yeah, just see how it goes. But either way, I'm pretty happy. The bike's set up pretty well, so if ever I have a bad race, I know it's not the bike's fault. So yeah, just try and just keep it on 2 wheels, and no matter what the weather's like.
I'm absolutely buzzing about it, and I can't wait for the next round. Before we can televise the next round, though, we've got the Superlights next week. Join us for all the action at Blyton, 9 AM on Motors TV as the 4 wheels take to the Blyton Raceway in Lincolnshire. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time again, and I'll be back in the studio for all the action from Rowra for round 5 of the British Supermoto Championship. From our 2 guests today, Lewis Cornish and Andy Mitchell, thank you both for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye for now.
OnToLiveAfloat.com sponsors the British Supermoto Championship.